Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today's topic, retrofit lighting.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. I'm Scott Whitwam, and today we're talking about retrofitting lighting. And I've got with me again today, Chris Everett with Next 2 Light, and my partner in the construction AZ renovation business. We're a design builder because he's an architect also with All Technique Architect. And I want to talk with Chris again today about how to take existing space and accent it with LED lighting. Chris, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back once again.
Well, let's start with what most people seem to want to accent, and that's kitchens. So talk a little bit about kitchen accents for an existing kitchen. What can people do?
Well, kitchens, it's really where it all started. So kitchen's probably the most important room in the house to light up with LED. The most important would be task lighting, which is under cabinet lighting, which lights up your countertop so you can cook and prep food and whatever else you're doing in there. The second aspect, or second zone, we'll call it, will be toe kick or accent lighting underneath overhangs, underneath islands, your toe kick. And then the third zone we could light up would be above your cabinets, and that we could do with a color. So you could have an extra element for holidays and change the colors based on the season. So those are kind of the three zones we light up in kitchens.
Okay, so do those three zones, can you coordinate them together? Are they independent so that they either all have to be, you got three different switches to turn on, or can you coordinate them so that you can have them all come on simultaneously or part on, off, or how does that work?
You could do it however you want. We can control them individually. Typically the color will be separate. It'll have a separate color dial. You can select everything to do with the color on its own remote. The two zones for under cabinet task lighting or accent, the toe kick lighting, those typically are separate zones as well. They don't have to be together. You're going to use task lighting for when you're in the kitchen prepping or cooking, versus the accent lighting you could have on at any time just as an ambient lighting source. So typically we control them separately.
Okay, now in last week's podcast, you talked a little bit about being able to set lighting so it comes on when you enter a room. Can you do that with kitchen lighting, like when you enter a space?
Sure. You could put the toe kick lighting or the accent lighting on either a low volt occupancy sensor hidden underneath the toe kick, so when you walk past it they come on, or you could do it as a switch occupancy sensor on the wall, which when you walk in the room it notices when you're in the room and it turns it on, and it's set on a timer and shuts it off after you walk out.
What a difference from the old days when you used to go to Kmart. I don't even know if Kmart's in business anymore. And buy a $5 round light that you could push, and you'd stick it under your cabinets, and you walk in and you push that little thing and click and go on, give you a little bit of light. But now you can actually wire it, have it come on automatically when you come in the room, have a specific color that you may like or whatever. I would imagine that, if you wanted to use them for cooking, like you got cabinets that are next to your cooking and stuff, you could probably do some bright whites. We talked about color spectrums a lot last week, and get it so that it lights up enough areas so you could actually do a small food prep without having to have the entire ceiling lit up and kitchen lights on. So, wow, what a difference.
Yeah, even when you have the ceiling lights on, you're going to have some shadowing and some dark effect under the cabinets. You're not going to be able to see as well if you have light right there shining on your hands. So it's a really big difference that it makes.
So another thing that I've noticed that people like to do, especially in hallways, is accent lighting for like either pictures, awards, and those kind of things. How does that work, and how hard is it to install that kind of lighting?
Just depends on the construction type. If there's a crawl space, it's fairly simple. If there's access, otherwise you're getting to ripping up drywall, running new electrical, putting in the transformers where there wasn't a space for it. So it just depends on the construction type. but typically lighting up art in hallways. We like to do a lot of grazing effects where the light grazes off the wall or the art piece to really accent it. And like I said, it just depends on what you want to light up, the space that we're putting the lights in, and how we're going to control it.
Well, I know another one is, and I know you and I went out on a job recently, is you can actually do stair lighting. So you can light it, and there's a lot of options with stair lighting. As Chris and I were talking with the client, Chris was going over some of the lighting things. So why don't you talk a little bit about the different options there are on stair lighting to kind of wow stairs?
Well, stairs are really cool, and we have a product, a stair step integration module that has 2 occupancy sensors. So at the top it has one and at the bottom has one. So if you're walking down your stairs, and we're talking about lighting the treads, underneath the treads, so it lights up each step as you're going down. So as soon as you walk to the step, the first one comes on, the second one comes on, the third one comes on, all the way down to the bottom, and they go off in reverse. So that one goes off. So it's following you down the steps as you go. Really cool. No switches involved. It's just your presence that turns them on and off.
Well, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
for sure. So,
Really cool.
yeah, so not only hallways, accent, kitchens, stairways, but also, what's becoming more popular is really doing big upgrades in master bathrooms. And there's a lot of the effects that you have in the kitchen that you can take and put into a bathroom. Why don't you talk about how that may work with some of the fixtures in a bathroom?
So in bathrooms, what we like to do, depending on your cabinet style, we like to put LED in the toe kick controlled by an occupancy sensor, or a floating vanity underneath there. So when you come into the bathroom, it automatically turns on and off. Like I said in the last podcast, so when you walk in at night, you're blinded by bright lighting, and you don't have to worry about a switch. The other thing we do in bathrooms, which is really cool, is becoming really popular now, is backlighting mirrors. So floating mirrors or different style of mirrors, you can backlight the back of it. Really cool effect. We do a lot of shower niches, aluminum channel with the lens on it in a shower niche, backlighting a shower niche, or even integrated into the tile, flush mounting with the tile. There's a lot of cool stuff we can do and implement in the bathrooms.
What about around like a bathtub? We'll say, a freestanding, whether it's clawfoot or just a freestanding bathtub, because those seem to be becoming, creating water closets are becoming, kind of popular now, where you have a tub, shower, and what could we do with something like that?
So bathtubs would, in a remodel, it might be a little difficult because you might get into tearing out some slab, unless you have a space underneath you can access. But you could run and light the bottom of the tub, and where you're getting an effect of the tub floating. So you just have to get your wiring up on the claw, or coming up through the ground-mounted plumbing fixture. Somehow you'd have to get the wire up, but there's ways around it. In new construction, it's obviously easier to plan for that, but in a remodel, it can be done.
Okay, so another cool thing that I've seen is if you have a 2-story house, right, and your upper level is going to have a loft or something, that you can actually do lighting that will light down into the main space, but it accents across the loft. Something like that, pretty tough to do on a retrofit, or is that something that...
It all just depends on what space is available to run wire and put transformers, and to actually get it installed. So, you want to try to minimize the amount of demo you have to do to install a new project. So
yeah, and there's a big difference between going to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, and going, oh, okay, I want to get a string, or Amazon, get a string of LED lights, and I'll make this, versus having somebody who can design it. Having a lighting designer, an architect, can look at the structural things that need to be done, and then having a lighting company like Next 2 Light come in and utilize their expertise in order to install this. I think installation is a big deal, because I go into in fact, as somebody who flips houses, a lot of times we'll buy houses, and as we're ripping them out, we see the things that people tried to do unsuccessfully on their own. So talk a little bit about the, what we got just a couple minutes left here. Talk a little bit about the design and the importance of the planning in the process of doing this in a retro environment.
It's very important. You got to look at the project from an overall viewpoint, how you're going to make the project work, what you're installing, how you're going to control it, the color temperatures you're going to use. So there's a lot involved. Also, a lot of people and a lot of contractors, what they're doing now, even new home builders, they're using their electrician to put in low volt lighting. And most electricians don't like to do it. They're ordering stuff off of Amazon, which our product comes direct from the manufacturer. It's very high quality diodes, high quality resistors. Our warranty on our lighting is 70,000 life cycle, so it's going to outlive you.
Yeah.
You don't get the color degradation, the spotting, the resistors, the diodes going out. So it's design, it's installation, and it's quality of the product.
That makes a big difference. Now, obviously, if I was living in a $50,000 condo, if you can even find those anymore, it'd be one thing. But a lot of these homes now, 300, 500, 700, a million. This lighting really brings some value to the space. And if you're when you get ready to sell, it's something that the new owner's really going to appreciate. The buyer's going to look at it and say, wow, I really like this. This is something I don't have to do. It's done. It looks good. And you get to enjoy it while you're living there. It's one of the things I like about some of these new things that Next 2 Light's doing. Some of these packages really brings a wow factor into the houses, and they can be done even if it's in a retro environment. I can't believe that, Chris, we've been out here. This is the third podcast we've shot on location in a row out here, and I drug you out here to do two of them with me. And I really appreciate you being here because I know it's not easy. I mean, we're out here, it's probably 100 degrees plus out here, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, shooting this podcast, and you've done really good. You haven't fainted on me, and I think it's turned out really good. Any last thoughts you'd like to leave with viewers before we wrap up this morning? I want to thank you for being with us on this podcast, Retrofit Lighting. Be sure to check out our previous podcasts about real estate investing and wealth building. You can find our podcast on most podcast stations. We're on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, and again, most of the places that you're going to find podcasts. We'd love to have you become part of our growing community. Feel free to subscribe. And we'd love to see you next time on the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.